Stop thinking and start doing. The Power of Practicing More, written by James Clear. We all have goals that we want to achieve in our lives. These goals may include learning a new language, eating a healthier and losing weight, becoming a better parent, saving more money, and so on. It can be easy to assume that the gap between where you are now and where you want to be in the future is caused by lack of knowledge. This is why we buy courses on how to start a business, or how to lose weight fast, or how to learn a new language in 3 months. We assume that if we knew about a better strategy, then we will get better results. We believe that new results require new knowledge. What I am starting to realize, however, is that new knowledge does not necessarily drive new results. In fact, learning something new can actually be a waste of time if your goal is to make progress and not simply gain additional knowledge. It all comes down to the difference between learning and practicing. The difference between learning and practicing, in Thomas Turner's book, The Practicing Mind audiobook, he explained the key difference between practicing and learning. When we practice something, we are involved in the deliberate repetition of a process with the intention of reaching a specific goal. The word deliberate and intentions are key here because they define the difference between actively practicing something and passively learning it. Thomas Turner, The Practicing Mind. Learning something new and practicing something new may seem very similar, but these two methods can have profoundly different results. Here are some additional ways to think about the difference. Let's say your goal is to get stronger and more fit. You can research the best instruction on bench press techniques, but the only way to build strength is to practice lifting weights. Let's say your goal is to grow your startup. You can learn about the best way to make a sales pitch, but the only way to actually land customers is to practice making sales call. Let's say your goal is to write a book. You can talk to a best-selling author about writing, but the only way to become a better writer is to practice publishing consistently. Passive learning creates knowledge. Active practice creates skill. Active practice versus passive learning. Let's consider three more reasons to prioritize active practice over passive learning. Passive learning can be crutched that support inaction. In many cases, learning is actually a way to avoid taking actions on the goals and interests that we say are important to us. For example, let's say you want to learn a foreign language. Reading a book on how to learn a foreign language quickly allows you to feel like you are making progress. Hey, I am figuring out the best way to do this. Of course, you are not actually practicing the action that will deliver your desired outcome. Speaking the foreign language. In situations like this one, we often claim that we are preparing or researching the best method. But these rationalizations allows us to feel like we are moving forward when we are merely spinning our wheels. We make the mistakes of being in motion rather than taking action. Learning is valuable until it becomes a form of procrastination. Practice is learning, but learning is not practice. Passive learning is not a form of practice because although you gain new knowledge, you are not discovering how to apply that knowledge. Active practice, meanwhile, is one of the greatest forms of learning because the mistakes you make while practicing reveals important insights. Even more important, practice is the only way to make meaningful contribution with your knowledge. You can watch an online course about how to build a business or read an article about the terrible disaster in the developing nation. But that knowledge is unproductive unless you are actually launch a business or donate to those in need. Learning by itself can be valuable for you, but if you want to be valuable to others, then you have to express your knowledge in some way. Practice focuses your energy on the process. Progress is a natural result of staying focused on the process of doing anything. The state of your life right now is a result of the habits and belief that you have been practicing each day. When you realize this and begin to direct your focus towards practicing better habits day in and day out, continued progress will be logical outcome. It is not the things we learn nor the dreams we envision that determines our results, but rather that habit that we practice each day. Fall in love with boredom and focus your energy on the process, not the product. The bottom line: is passive learning useless? Of course not. In many cases, learning for the sake of learning can be a beautiful thing. Not to mention that soaking up new information can help you make more informed decisions when you do decide to take actions. That said, the main point of this article is that learning by itself does not lead to progress. We often hide behind information and use learning an excuse to delay the more difficult and more important choice of actually doing something. Spend less time passively learning and more time actively practicing. Stop thinking and start doing. Thanks for reading.